Well, everybody loves countdowns, so tonight the Big D is doing top 10 NFL quarterbacks. Before I bring in Kyle, please subscribe, like, and share the Spunky Reference Sports YouTube page where might be counting on Hurricanes, might be counting on a UFC fight, or counting on the NFL season. Also, check out the Big D podcast for the audio listeners, Spotify and Apple. So, joining us from the Going for Two Network, Kyle Senra. So, Kyle, I think this is what the third year we've done like top 10 coaches, quarterbacks. So,
That's
it's
true.
a
Yeah.
fun,
Chicago coaches last year. Yeah.
it's a fun exercise where we pick out like who the best quarterbacks are.
Yeah, for sure. It's just trying to. I mean, it's the most important position, and so we'll scrutinize it as much as we can and try and figure out all the details and see who we have as the top 10 in what order. So this was. It's funny because I had started doing something for this similar for the Full Press Packers pod, where something Jesse Hall and I have done for the last couple of years is ranking all the quarterbacks the Packers will face. So I had somewhat of a list started, and then it was just adding, you know, all the best quarterbacks with the Packers don't face. And then doing this list, I realized, you know what? Packers kind of have it easy in terms of there's not a ton of the elite quarterbacks they have to face. In fact, of my and there's one guy I took out of the top 10 that I might have put, and my friend Achilles said I was talking about the list, and he says I should at least mention him. So I'll do that and say, if you throw in Kyler at QB 11 for me, I guess that's maybe how we'll start. The guy that just misses out. The Packers only end up playing 4 of the top 11 quarterbacks in my rankings. So, it could be a lot worse in terms of what their schedule is and who they have to face from a quarterback perspective.
Well, before we get into the top 10, let's start with the honorable mentions.
I
And
guess I already started with it. Sorry, a little dishonorably I ran in there. Like Kyler, who likes to run a lot. So that's my guy that maybe I expected to be in the top 10. And as I was doing it, he just fell out of it. I think he's a good quarterback, but I also think there's an elite top tier that he hasn't quite reached. He had that one, I think it was his second season in the NFL, where it looked like he might have put the whole skill set together, the speed with the rushing, but also being a threat in the red zone. And since then, it hasn't been. I mean, he's had the benefit maybe of good red zone running backs, and that's kind of taken away from him. So I still think he's a good quarterback capable of winning, just hasn't won a playoff game yet.
I'm actually intrigued what Kyler does this year in Arizona with Marvin and Trey McBride. I mean, whether he makes my list, you just have to wait a minute or two. But my honorable mentions are 12 for me, Jalen Hurts. I mean, I can't believe Jalen Hurts fell this much, but based on how he finished last year with 5 passing touchdown, 5 picks last 6 games, I can't put Hurts any higher. And then just missing, and maybe it's not how I'm trying not to put his last stretch in 2023, but I'm basing it on only 1 year of true starter, and that's Jordan Love. I mean, that playoff game showed me something with Jordan Love, not just beating Dak, but really hammering fists that would have made Alex Bahia tap.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure a lot of Dallas fans are lighting their hair on fire. Cowboys players, coaches, GMs, fans alike. But I think with Love, I mean, that was an impressive game. I think the defense also scored at least 1 pick 6. Wasn't it 2, though, I think? So, like, the defense definitely had a hand in it. The Dallas offense struggled for essentially the entire first half. That kind of let the Packers offense just operate without much pressure, and they were efficient. They scored points. It wasn't just the defense. So complimentary football was great. But to me, Jordan Love, yeah, you can. It almost does look like it was like 2 different halves of like almost like 2 different seasons, like 2 different half seasons, almost you could say. Where the start, there were games where things looked good, but it was big broken play here, and Jordan Love rightfully recognized it. Guys were wide open, things that he couldn't miss. But then when tight coverages was there, he really struggled to throw receivers open and put balls in the proper place at the proper time. Accuracy was kind of a consistent accuracy. Throw in, throw out was kind of suspect. He would make a good throw, and then go to another one not so good. The route running with the receivers wasn't the best outside of Romeo Doubs, which is why he was, I think, relied on so much early, because he was the only guy that was like running his routes properly as the second year veteran, the old man in the room, that young receiver room. So there were some struggles, and then something clicked. And then that end of season stretch where they went 6-2, 7-3 if you count the playoffs, and Love's accuracy got better. The completion percentage, if you look at the numbers, that's just drastically increased in that. But he was finally throwing receivers open. He wasn't just relying on wide open plays when the defense breaks down. He was actually making good throws against good, solid defensive coverages, and that's what's given me enough confidence to kick Kyler out and put Jordan Love at number 10. So I suppose there's a perfect way to transition into our top 10.
So obviously you and I have got the same but different opinions, because Jordan Love's 11 on my list. He's 10 on your list. Kyler's 10 on my list, but Jordan Love's 11 on your list. But Kyler's 11 on your list.
Love's got a playoff win. Kyler doesn't. Now, it's actually something I was talking to Achille, because he questioned that too, like Kyler over Jordan Love. And I think part of it is from a Packers fan perspective. You told me. And now that they're both making lots of money, you can just throw the contract out. Just flat up, which quarterback would I rather have on the Packers? From what I saw last year, I got to say, I want Jordan Love. I like Kyler a lot. I feel like he has been underrated a ton, which is why I like that I got to mention him as my number 11. But to me, I don't know. It's I guess Kyler has a chance to prove it this year, though, because the Packers and Cardinals do play. So Jordan Love, Kyler Murray head-to-head. So if Kyler wants to prove he's rightfully on the list, he'll prove me wrong and win that game and make me really sad.
Yeah. I just want to see Kyler Murray healthy and hopefully not on his butt every other play, because, with Harrison, McBride, James Conner, I
actually like them bringing in Zay Jones too. I think he can fill a role for a team that isn't always felt in just targets, though he has drawn a lot of targets. You know it from the Jags, especially a couple of years ago. So I think Zay Jones is actually a smart pickup too.
And I think Michael Wilson, underrated receiver, big possession wide receiver from Florida, right?
I'm bad with the schools, but yeah, he was, I believe, a third or fourth rounder last year. So he showed up pretty well for a rookie, not a first round rookie, someone that wasn't necessarily guaranteed a ton of opportunities. He seemed to make the most of them. So that's, I think, with Zay Jones, they now have a perfect trio of wide receivers, all with complementary skill sets. I think two guys that can win on the perimeter that allow, if you really want to, put Marvin Harrison Jr. in the slot. And if that's where Kyler can operate really well with, maybe that helps change things around. It seems like that's been an issue, is Kyler over the middle. He's been so good at throwing to the outside. But
by the way, Michael Wilson went to Stanford. Little different than Greensboro.
Yeah, little bit different parts of the map. But okay, so yeah, we got our number 10 set, but it's funny because I think I now know who you have in your top 4 pretty easily. But that's also going to mean there's a question asked somewhere. So who's starting with number 9 here?
I'll go with number 9. And how about the rookie sensation last year for the Houston Texans, CJ Stroud? 9 games with 100 or better passer rating. If not for the concussion, this guy might have been in the MVP consideration.
Yeah, I think that was being talked about too at some points just before that. Yeah, you're definitely not wrong. Certainly ran away with Offensive Rookie of the Year.
I just want to see Stroud do it for more than 1 year, because we've seen guys have. Mark Sanchez got to an AFC Championship game as a rookie.
Wow, I didn't think we'd bring up Mark Sanchez's name in this episode. What a call, Dylan. What a pull.
I've got a few more up my sleeve if you want them.
Oh, boy. I could throw out some CFL names probably. But, well, it's funny because we talk about wanting to see him do it for more than 1 year. And this quarterback has successfully played quarterback in more than one season, has even led his team to the playoffs. So you're happy that ended in a loss for his team. But really, Justin Herbert, looks like all the talent in the world, and he's actualized that upside, especially in his rookie year. But since then, he's almost become a check down Charlie. And we're gonna see things now that Austin Eckler's not there. But Justin Fields, for all the arm strength that's been touted, hasn't pushed the ball down the field as well as a lot of the other quarterbacks that are ahead of him in my list anyway, because Justin Herbert, did I say Fields? I would say Justin Herbert. You see, that I would love to put Fields in this list. I love Justin Fields, but no, Justin Herbert is my quarterback
9. I mean, Justin Herbert's won the same amount of playoff games as both
Kyler
of
Murray?
them.
As what? As who, sorry?
Hey, at least Kyler didn't blow a 27-point playoff lead.
Yeah, their problem. They couldn't even get, I don't even think they scored 27 points in the whole game.
I'm not sure Arizona scored any points in that playoff game against them.
I think they got a touchdown somewhere, but yeah, Aaron Donald just destroyed that offense. Again, Kyler Murray getting tons of sacks. It's not always on him. That game, it definitely wasn't on him. That was
34
by an eventual Super Bowl champion.
34-11. Yeah.
Okay, 11. Who knows how they got 11 points? 3 field goals and a safety.
the Bucks were leading the Rams in NFC Championship game 6-5 once.
Yay, defense. This is the quarterback episode, though.
Defense not allowed. So at 8, who do you like? Who's number 8 on your list?
Did you not say? Oh, you did say number 9 was. Yeah, sorry, that's right. Stroud. I forgot. Okay, yeah. So my number 8 is Brock Purdy, who frankly is one of the most difficult quarterbacks to rank. I think. He's tied to the Shanahan system, so it's tough to separate him from that because he's played his whole career with Shanahan, and for the foreseeable future, at least the next 2 years for sure on the rookie contract, he's going to continue to play with Shanahan. So where does Brock Purdy's success begin and end, and how much of it is just the Shanahan system? But I think what's undeniable is that he has played that Shanahan system way better than any quarterback they've had in San Francisco. I think you could compare him to what Shanahan had in Atlanta with Matt Ryan, and he won an MVP and went to a Super Bowl. No MVP for Brock Purdy, but he went to a Super Bowl already. So if I was looking strictly at the numbers, there's an argument to be made that Purdy could be number 1. 9.2 yards per attempt. Pretty wild through 2 seasons. His touchdown rate is 7.2%. That's insane through 2 seasons. Insane through 1 year. But so what he's done is 2 years, and one season was just a half season, but however many games he started, that stretch has been truly elite quarterback numbers and elite efficiency based on pass attempts, yards per attempt, touchdown percentage. He doesn't throw a ton of pass attempts, though, and that's the limit. I think last year with a full season, I think he still failed to hit 500 pass attempts. So what is Purdy on a larger sample size? What is Purdy away from Shanahan? We don't know. So I think there's enough question marks where I don't know. I almost feel like some people might say 8 is too high, but unless he's your number 8, Dylan, you're going to say it's too low. So who is your number 8?
I actually don't have Brock Purdy in my list. I'm basing it more on the Kyle Shanahan team. Plus, he's got probably the best weapons in the league with Brandon Ayuk shows up, McCaffrey, Kittle, Debo, Trent Williams if he shows up. But I don't have Brock Purdy in my top 12. And yet everybody's saying Brock Purdy's 5 or Brock Purdy's 6, and I'm like,
so not because I'm seeing a lot of lists where he's not making top 10s, and I feel like that's, I don't know, he's had success, and it's a super small sample size, but he's proved more in the year and a half he's played than he's gone further than Justin Herbert has with very talented group. Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Austin Eckler. Not the coach that is Kyle Shanahan. Brandon Staley may have held him back, but still a talented group, and yet he's put up yards and he's put up stats. But man, he does it on so many more pass attempts than Purdy. So the one argument you can make is the Chargers clearly trust Herbert to throw more than the 49ers trust Purdy. But we've also seen in games where they're down, they don't mind giving him a ton of pass attempts. They're just leading so often that they don't have to pass. So I don't know. I'm willing to just say that Purdy is good. Again, the stats would say he should even be higher than this. And I could, as you've mentioned, some even say I'm too low on him at 8. So he's such a polarizing, difficult quarterback to rank. And so I've got him here at 8. I struggled apparently.
Be honest with you, Brock Purdy might be the hardest quarterback to evaluate in NFL history based on who his coaches and who his weapons are.
Yeah, I mean, and the longer his career goes, the more sample size, the more games we get, it's going to be easier to tell who he is. So it's still so too early to know for sure who is Brock Purdy.
Number 8 on my list is the guy who he beat in the NFC Championship game, Jared Goff. I mean, Jared Goff, he can play without Sean McVay. I mean, he threw for 4,000 yards, but what I like about Goff, I don't think there's. I mean, guys are more athletic, have strong arms, but I don't know if there's a better. I don't know if there's a better looking football than Goff. He throws a catchable ball. And last year, even though there were some stinkers, Baltimore and Green Bay on Thanksgiving, Goff always rebounded. And what I see is a guy, you put him in the right situation and what he's got in Detroit with great offensive line, the running backs, Amon-Ra. The Lions believe in him, and Jared Goff's the guy. And can you win a Super Bowl? I feel like if you're a top 10 guy, can you win a Super Bowl? You can win a Super Bowl or at least get to a Super Bowl with Jared Goff.
That's true. I guess, and I've got Goff a little lower. He doesn't make my top 10. And the reason being how he's much worse under pressure than basically all these other quarterbacks we talked about so far. And the splits of when he doesn't play in a dome and when he's playing in cold weather games don't look great. So I don't know that either of us are going to have Tua on the list. I mean, I know that I don't, and I think it's a similar concern. I really kind of view them as the same quarterback. I don't really see much difference between Goff and Tua, to be perfectly honest. So.
Hey, good news for the Lions. Only 3 outdoor games. Although
this year he should do well. That's I think for fantasy, I probably would rather have Goff than Tua, to be honest.
Yeah, the Lions 3 outdoor games are at Lambeau, at Soldier Field, Week 16, and then in Santa Clara, Week 17.
Yeah, so there we go. San Francisco. So South games too, where it's not the most difficult. But I guess I'll get to my number 7 now. And I have CJ Stroud here. And one thing that really impressed me was the 8.2 yards per attempt. And you could see it. The deep ball accuracy was definitely there and present. That was something that he was touted as a rookie, which is why I had faith in him more than Bryce Young and Anthony Richardson. The one thing everyone was kind of really kept hammering home with CJ Stroud is he's the most accurate passer in this class. And I was like, well, I know, we love to overthink things sometimes, but is it just that simple where, man, this is the best thrower of the football? He's the most accurate passer. That's the guy you should believe in and have faith in. Because it seems like he also processed the game really well and was making good quarterback decisions, which that was apparently the question marks that came out in the middle of the draft process. So the benefit of Houston that Stroud fell to them. Someone said, do the Texans have? I mean, the Texans really have no choice but to thank Lovie Smith, right, for winning that last game and putting them in second overall. Because if they were in first, they might have got fooled by the whole S2 testing thing and taken Young and not have Stroud, and they'd be in shambles while the Panthers would be just destroying the AFC South. Because imagine Stroud in that division, man. He's winning 14 games probably. That division's just awful, but Bryce Young can't even manage that, right? So it's the ultimate what if. We've only seen 1 year. But I think what we've seen of him, I'm willing to buy in, and I think he's only going to get better right now. Can he continue to push the ball downfield and really be a difference maker as a passer and not become like Herbert has and relying on the check down so much? So that's going to be to just remain aggressive and not be afraid to make mistakes, because more often than not, he's making the correct throw and the correct play. So I trust Stroud enough to, even after just 1 year, I'll put him in. I've got, really 2 1-year quarterbacks in my top 10 with Love and Stroud, even though Love wasn't a rookie last year. But the small sample sizes are enough for me to have faith there, and especially faith in Stroud, putting him at number 7.
I mean, I love how Houston not only trusted Stroud, but let him throw deep pass. I mean, Nico Collins, Tank Dell, every other throw was a 9 round.
Man, there were a lot of throws to Robert Woods that Stroud was making Woods look good.
But I didn't think CJ Stroud was just good at running because we never saw him run in college.
It's funny. Fields didn't run much either at Ohio State. I guess a credit to that program is they do try and make these quarterbacks good pocket passers, processing from the pocket, throwing the football to win games. So Stroud seemed to come in immediately prepared. But this also felt like I guess where a tier break was, where I don't know. I guess you'll say you're number 7, but then I wonder if we have the same. Well, I guess we don't have the same top 6.
Obviously not. But you mentioned one AFC South quarterback. I'm going to mention another one. I'm going to mention my guy Trevor. And yes, I know Trevor was not great, particularly from week 13 on. But if you look at what I think what was Trevor? I think Trevor was like 39-15 in all of 22, and until week 13 and 20 in 23.
Right, because they started with like 7 wins. So no, it would have been a great record for sure.
And I look at what Trevor did the first 2/3 of last season because I don't even care. I don't know. Trevor was never healthy. I don't think it was even.
Oh yeah, all the different injuries: knee, ankle. He had a shoulder. There was a concussion eventually. I think held him out. So.
And maybe I'm biased, being a Jag fan. I mean, the town, but I'm based on the talent. I think this is the year. I mean, he's already won a playoff game, but maybe this is the year we see Trevor look like a top 5-6 quarterback, and it's like, yeah, now Trevor Lawrence is a guy you could win multiple playoff games. You could beat Josh Allen. You could beat Pat Mahomes.
For sure, and you got to overcome a lot of great quarterbacks in the AFC, which means in the NFC there's an advantage. So actually, maybe this guy, I'm kind of thinking about it. Maybe it's a tier break to me after this guy. So it's the top 5, and then it's kind of the rest. But I got to say, the statistical success in the regular season, constantly winning games. He has won playoff games as well, and he does play well, even games where his team absolutely loses and collapses in hilarious ways, because the Cowboys certainly love to do that. But I have Dak Prescott at number 6. So feels like the Cowboys really shouldn't be lollygagging with his contract and just sign him already. Just lock him up, because what happens if Dak Prescott leaves the Cowboys? What are they going to do? Is it like, are they tanking for Carson Beck instantly?
I
guess it'd have to be next year if he plays this year.
So. Sanders, right?
Yeah, are they going for Arch Manning? Is that like, let's bring Arch Manning to Dallas? Is that Jerry's plan all along? But no, I certainly think Dak Prescott is great. But I guess when you said Lawrence, it made me think, okay, yeah, it makes sense that Dylan would say Trevor, because I was trying to count for, okay, who has he said that like I don't have in the top 10, and unfortunately that is Lawrence. I think we're all our differences are done now, though. But I guess we'll find out. I might be wrong about that, because there's one quarterback that I don't have that I think you might have, but I'm not sure if you do. So I guess enough suspense. Let's just get to it.
No, well, I've got a question for you on Dak.
All right.
Is Dak really a talented quarterback, or is this based on Dak having CeeDee Lamb, or knock on wood having CeeDee Lamb?
Well, he's had success even without CeeDee Lamb. He's put up some great seasons. Dude does know how to win games. There are some games where he does play pretty bad. It's multiple interceptions. But even within those games, he can also elevate when he needs to, come back from a mistake and play well. So he's got all the... I would say, yeah, he's talented. I think he's a very talented quarterback. He's an accurate passer. And I think he's also shown he's improved over time. He used to be a very kind of like Jordan Love early in his career. He'll see the wide open guy and make the play, but he's not throwing guys open. And it feels like he's take that step and he's gotten better. I wonder if CeeDee Lamb would have been as good as he is now if he had rookie Dak Prescott. He came in the league in 2016, whereas he's getting the better version of Dak than, say, like Dez Bryant did. Like, I wonder if like Dez Bryant played with Dak now, if he'd do a lot better, because that was a big struggle. Dak came in and he was targeting Jason Witten and Cole Beasley way too much, and Dez Bryant, and the success wasn't necessarily translating like the success Dez had with Tony Romo. But now I wonder if Dez played with this version of Dak, if he'd do a lot better. Maybe not quite to the same level he did with Romo, but close enough. So a long way around to say, yes, I believe in the talent of Dak Prescott.
But to me, when I see the Cowboys play, Dak's a different quarterback with Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb than he is without those guys.
Yeah, but if you take, I mean, other than the very true elite quarterbacks, you take away their best weapons. I mean, I guess you don't have Jalen Hurts ranked that highly. I was going to say, look how much better Jalen Hurts has done since they've given him AJ Brown. Like and I guess it's the hope for Bryce Young. I suppose it was the thing with Trevor, right? Like, who did he have year one? How awful he was. Now I think we could blame a lot of that on the worst head coach in NFL history, but like signing Christian Kirk, going and signing Zay Jones, getting Evan Ingram, those moves turned out to be great for Lawrence. And once he finally had weapons to throw to, he could showcase his talents. So, because I mean, like I think of like when Michael Gallup was doing good with Dak, like he was great for some of those years with Dak Prescott. So
Yeah, before the knee injury, right?
of course, yeah, a catastrophic knee injury. It's gonna mess him up, and it's ultimately caused Gallup to retire. He was never the same, but when he was healthy and he was capable, Dak put the furthest ability of like I think Gallup, like, and he really maximized Gallup's potential.
Number 6 on my list is Justin Herbert. I'm amazed with Justin Herbert's arm athleticism. Thank God that Brandon Staley's not his head coach anymore, because you talk about Urban Meyer being the worst head coach in the NFL. Brandon Staley's not far behind him, because every time the Chargers got a lead, they blew it because Brandon Staley's defense couldn't stop a nosebleed.
Yeah, that's true. And he was asked to do so much on his own, but it feels like he didn't quite live up to how like Josh Allen has to do so much on his own to cover up for that team. To be honest, Dylan, I really struggled with both Purdy and Stroud, just the small sample sizes. Like I could have just as easily had Herbert like 7 or even 6, like flipped with Dak, like have those two next to each other. So that's why I guess like I've kind of talked myself into, for me, the top 5 becomes a tier of its own. But again, you and I don't actually have the same top 5. So this will be interesting to see who you have up there. I'm really interested.
Yeah, because I already said Jalen Hurts at 12.
Yeah,
so-
I kind of think I know actually who you. Okay, I'm gonna guess. Well, maybe I won't guess. I will get you reveal it because I think your number 5 might be the key to all this. So who do you have at 5? I feel like I might know.
No, I want to know, who do you think I have at 5?
Do you have Stafford in the top 5?
I do have Matthew Stafford.
Okay, yeah, because I don't have him in the top 10. I'm kind of thinking now, like, I mean, I'd rather have Jordan Love than Matt Stafford as a Packers fan, so it'd be tough to reconcile having Stafford that high. But I could maybe even maybe he even should be ahead of Kyler. I would have him as my main honorable mention. But yeah, guess I'm a little low on Stafford, so may as well tell us why I'm so wrong on the former Super Bowl champion.
I don't think there were 2 or 3 guys with the arm strength for Matthew Stafford. Yes, he's probably past his prime, but there aren't many guys with better arm strength than Stafford. Last year, he largely stayed healthy, and it's a health factor with Stafford like it is with most guys, but Stafford was healthy and played really well last year. But this is a quarterback coach and how about the only non-Pat Mahomes, Tom Brady Super Bowl since the recently retired Nick Foles?
Yeah, and you go further back than that. It's is it Eli? No, I guess it'd be the Peyton Manning. Yeah, crazy, wild. That is pretty nuts. Yeah, maybe there's super disrespect here on Stafford. I'm just I kind of view him like I view a Goff, to be honest. Only I guess I would even put him higher than Goff, like you did, for the simple point of we know Goff can get to a Super Bowl. We also know Matthew Stafford can win said Super Bowl.
So based on your list, that means let me take a wild guess. Jalen Hurts is number 5 on your list, right?
See, I was super close on 4 and 5, and it's gone back and forth. So I'll just talk about those 2 quarterbacks because I felt it was pretty close. I actually have Burrow at number 4.
Wait, 4 or 5?
I've got 5. Burrow at 5, Hurts at 4. That's what I'd say. My bad. And like I'm looking at some of their statistics. So the yards per attempt are almost identical. Burrow does have a higher completion percentage, a higher touchdown percentage, at least passing wise. But Hurts has accounted for more touchdowns per start than Burrow has. And it's this short yardage ability that Hurts has, I don't think can be overstated. It's kind of this like crazy weapon that we don't see. Like what other play can succeed at 90% efficiency? And and it's this thing that like no other team really has. When it gets to short yardage offense, it's like the whole playbook is wide open, just based solely on the quarterback's talent and skill set. Because other teams have tried, and other teams with good offensive lines have tried and just not have succeeded as well as Hurts has in short yardage situations. It For someone who watches so much CFL and the short yardage quarterback is a thing. Like there's like when the CFL offenses get within a yard, maybe even 2 yards, they're bringing in their short yardage offense. Like they're bringing in extra offensive linemen. They're bringing in a different quarterback who specializes in short yardage running because it's that important to succeed on those plays. And it's almost viewed as an automatic. Like in the CFL, it's like a 75% efficiency. I think they mentioned one team this year has like a 90-something% efficiency inside like the 2-yard line near the end zone. And the only thing I've seen anywhere close to that type of play is Jalen Hurts in the NFL. So I think just because it's not him passing, I don't think we can discount it. So a lot of things we've said, we know a team can get to the Super Bowl with Jalen Hurts. We've seen it. Same with Joe Burrow. So this idea that they're both lead their teams maybe in slightly different ways. To be honest, Joe Burrow's arm strength is not something that's like really touted very much. Like in fact, if anything, he's viewed as one of the weaker arms among elite quarterbacks, but yet Joe Burrow finds a way to kind of make this difference. So to me, I feel like he's rightfully in the top 5. Obviously, it sounds like you feel like number 5 is too low. So I am curious to see how high you have Joe Burrow, but I guess we'll start with your number 4.
Number 4, the reigning NFL MVP, Lamar Jackson. And Lamar Brock Purdy may be the hardest guy for you. Lamar might be the hardest guy for me to judge because I'm amazed with Lamar's dual threat ability, but there were some parts of his game that concerned me. It seems like in the big games, Lamar makes too many mistakes. The awful pick in the AFC Championship game. And some of it wasn't his fault, like Zay Flowers acting like an idiot. But talent-wise, Lamar's unbelievable, the best dual threat quarterback ever. But he's not been a great big-time quarterback. And for these top quarterbacks, you judge by what happens in January and February.
Yeah, he only has, I think it's 2 playoff wins in his career. I remember that correctly. I think he got revenge against the Titans, but some of like the most memorable big moments for Lamar are these playoff losses, like the first year at the Titans where they were the 1 seed. And it was going to be his, I guess it wasn't his playoff debut because as a rookie, he did play the playoffs, lost to the Chargers. I was going to say, I think that's Phillip Rivers' last win with the Chargers, not last game with the Chargers. I have him at number 3. So I'm right here with you on the greatest dual threat quarterback of all time. And I think as much as Hurts has that efficiency with the short yardage, Lamar runs in a completely different way, and it's so hard to account for that speed. But he doubles it by being a really good touchdown thrower, especially a 5.9% touchdown rate. The only quarterbacks higher that we've talked about are Purdy and there's an obvious name. We'll get to that eventually. So Lamar, and like Purdy, it's not on a ton of pass attempts, but he also doesn't need to. Now, Purdy, it's because their run game is so strong, the defense is so good. I guess for the Ravens, the defense is really good too, but the run game is so strong because Lamar makes it strong. He makes it so difficult for opponents to account for your run game because they're always having to account for his threat. It opens things up for running backs to be more efficient than they normally would be. And he can make the most of it with what I consider pinpoint accuracy at all levels of the middle of the field. Now, to me, Lamar's weakness has always been throwing outside the numbers, but I also think he's gotten better at that. And Marquise Brown helped him develop, and I think Zay Flowers is further helping that development. So as Lamar's game gets fully well-rounded and the one weakness of throwing outside the numbers accurately, as that weakness is diminishing and almost disappearing, I think the sky's the limit for him. So unlike, well, I guess not everyone in my top 5, but the last couple of guys we've talked about, he hasn't been to the Super Bowl yet. But seems like everyone else keeps losing to Mahomes. So it's tough to he just, unlike Hurts, he hasn't lost to Mahomes in the Super Bowl. He's lost him in the AFC Championship game. So it's like, is that super huge difference to impact it? So I think I did maybe struggle a little bit with Lamar, but ultimately I feel pretty confident to say he is a top 3 quarterback in the NFL.
And so number 4 is Jalen Hurts, I'm guessing.
Yeah, sorry, I guess when I was talking about Burrow, I kind of threw them in together. But yeah, Burrow 4 or Burrow 5, Hurts 4, Lamar 3 for me.
How will Jason Kelsey no longer provide the touch push Hurts?
Well, you see, I actually don't think that's where I think Jason Kelsey's retirement will hurt Hurts in other ways. That's not one of the ways, though. I think like someone's brought up the fact that Kelsey's been the one calling the protection so much. So just Hurts get more sacks now. If maybe the protection isn't up to par, if he's having to figure it out on his own, he doesn't have this elite all-pro center that helps him with that. Right? Like if maybe the offensive line isn't quite there, if all the responsibility is on Hurts. Maybe he can step up to it and read all the protections properly, though. So we'll see. But that to me is a huge question mark. I think. So, what do you think Kelsey's best traits are? Like Jason Kelsey.
Jason Kelsey was hugely athletic from the center perspective.
Mm-hmm. I thought like his second level blocking, like how he can get out in space and help push really long runs. So I almost think like everyone's excited for Saquon to get there, but this offensive line, and even with Jason Kelsey retirement, I think it's probably still easily the best offensive line Saquon's been on. But does he get to a lesser version of this O-line because maybe these long runs aren't as easy to spring off because Kelsey's not there? I think the short yardage stuff, to me, it's man, you just need the guy to dive forward a couple yards, right? Like it's just get the low leverage and get under the other player. And Kelsey seems to be able to do that so well. But I think that's easy to replicate for like a league average center than some of the other advanced stuff that Kelsey does. So ultimately, I think the short yardage stuff will still be fine for the Eagles. Do they operate at 90% efficiency? Probably not every year. Eventually that will go down. Natural regression. And maybe the Kelsey retirement is what kicks it to like it's only now getting first downs on 75% of plays instead of 90%. If it drops to that, you're still like, let's run it all the time because that's still crazy efficient. You can't find that type of efficiency in any play in football. So I think there's still room for it to not be as efficient and still be far more efficient than anything else in the league. So it could drop, but the short yardage stuff is, I think, the less of the concern. I think that taking sacks on earlier downs and the long runs for Barkley, that's to me the bigger concern, which is why I've had no problem like continuing to keep Hurts as like a fantasy football wise inside the top 3 quarterbacks, trading for him in a couple dynasty leagues this year. So if there's any dip in Hurts price, I've been telling people in dynasty, go buy that because I still view him as a top 3 dynasty quarterback. And certainly Lamar's up there too, as a top 3 real life quarterback.
Based on Saquon being there, maybe Saquon and Hurts will save the wear and tear on each other.
Yeah, help each other be healthier. And this is as much as DeAndre Swift's talented pass catcher, Saquon, I think, takes that to an even higher level. So if there's ever been a running back to incentivize Hurts to dump off and throw to them, it might be Barkley. We've also seen Hurts not necessarily do that for most of his career.
And for some reason, the Eagle coaches don't use the tailback out of the backfield.
Yeah, Swift finally played all 17 games last year, I think, and had a career low in targets and receptions. It was awful for fantasy. He didn't. He wasn't necessarily get like all the extra games. He didn't necessarily get more touchdowns than he would with the Lions. But I guess, you have Lamar at 4, so you don't consider my same statement of Lamar being a top 3 quarterback to be true. I think it's obvious who you would put inside your top 3. So I'm curious. I know how much you like the top 2, or at least what I view as the top 2, clearly. So I think you have Burrow here, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's why you're so shocked at me, because you have Burrow at number 1. You're like, Kyle, how could you disrespect him at 5?
No, Burrow's number 3 on my list. And when healthy, Joe Burrow's been probably the only quarterback to not just hang but beat Patrick Mahomes in the AFC play. Only quarterback currently playing who's beating Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs.
I was going to say, among current quarterbacks, that's the only loss he's ever had.
And the only other guy is Tom Brady, and we.
Yeah, that's not too shabby.
Yeah, but I mean, the only question about Joe Burrow to me is health. Because if Joe Burrow plays, the Cincinnati Bengals are a thorn in everybody's side. The problem is, can he play? Because 2 years he stayed healthy, the Bengals have been to a Super Bowl and within a field goal, within one or two plays of making another Super Bowl.
Yeah, Burrow Hurts would have been a fun Super Bowl to watch too if that was the case. Would have resolved my issue of 4 or 5. Clearly, again, you have Burrow significantly higher than Hurts though. But yeah, I guess we get to the top 2, which I imagine there's no surprises here. I as soon as you said you want to do this list, okay, well, I think number 1's obvious, and I guess number 2, once you think about it and really look at it, it's just as obvious. Josh Allen. I mean, you could argue he's the quarterback who takes on literally the most for his own team, both as a passer and as a runner, being basically been the team's main goal line back his entire existence with the Bills. So the way he accounts for so many touchdowns per game, it's even more extreme than Hurts because like you look at the passing numbers and especially touchdown rate, his career average is 5.3, whereas Hurts is down at 4.2. In fact, Hurts 4.2 is lower than I think every name we've mentioned today, except for Trevor Lawrence. Sorry. But again, Hurts makes up for that by being such a good rushing touchdown quarterback. He's been the best at that really the last couple of years, even better than Josh Allen. But Allen is the best mix of both. I think the true difference making as a rusher, and not like Lamar with the speed and the 1,000 rushing yards, but he constantly gains first downs and constantly scores touchdowns with his legs. All the while, you talk about when you talk about Stafford having one of the strongest arms you'd ever seen. I think I probably put Josh Allen to the test. I would pick on Josh Allen, but so he's like the total outlier. Like he's the best of almost so many different. Like if you were to scientifically mold a quarterback, you'd probably end up with a result that looks very similar to Josh Allen. Does all the things right. He's got all the traits. He just can't beat Mahomes. That's his only biggest weakness, right? You do the Moneyball scene, like Jonah Hill explained to Brad Pitt all the, he's got this, and the one last line where you just can't beat Patrick Mahomes. Well, we finally did in the regular season this year, so maybe it's a sign of things to come. But I'm guessing you have Josh Allen at number 2. Now, I feel like last year you actually had him at number 1, so maybe you've been stubbornly keeping him there anyway and say, forget the world. Josh Allen is the best quarterback.
I've got Josh Allen number 2. I think I had Allen number 1 2 years ago.
It was 2 years ago. Last year, once Mahomes was the champ, it's tough to not put him at the top, isn't it?
But to me, I always thought Dan Marino's almost the strongest I've ever seen. Josh Allen can give him a run for his money,
and maybe outrun Dan Marino too, even in his prime. Again, not too shabby of an athlete, but yeah. But he's running through most linebackers, man.
Or running past him like he did in the playoff game.
Yeah, passed through, doesn't matter. Josh Allen will find a way.
But the problem with Josh Allen isn't necessarily wins or loss in the regular season. Is Josh Allen destined to become the 21st century version of Dan Marino? Maybe good enough to set all kinds of records, throw 1,000,000 yards, have the strongest arm in league history, but maybe not win a Super Bowl? Or will a Super Bowl come his way?
Yeah, the ultimate question. I mean, he didn't pick the right franchise to be on, oh, man, this is good. The guy's definitely going to win a Super Bowl. There's all this pressure of just being in Buffalo, trying to win a championship for that sports team, sports city. So, yeah, good luck, Josh Allen. Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL. I think it's pretty undeniable. So you and I both have him at number 1. No, I'm just kidding. I actually put 2 up here the whole time. I know it's Mahomes.
I put Nathan Peterman at 1 on my list.
Well, I go Nathan Rourke ahead of Nathan. But actually, know what? He's in the CFL now. He signed with the Lions, so you can't count him as an NFL quarterback. So I guess Nathan Peterman by default. But no, it's I think it's undeniable. Mahomes is the best. So I don't really know what else to say, Dylan. This seems like the pick that's the easiest. It's the funnest. It's the one everyone wants to talk about. We'll spend the least time just say, oh yeah, he's the best. Bye. Thanks for watching.
What separates Mahomes from every other quarterback in the NFL?
Well, I think he puts a couple of the ingredients we've talked about. He's got the touchdown percent like Lamar Jackson has. But like he's got like Joe Burrow's level of completion percentage and even like pushing the ball down the field even more, like almost to the level of a Stroud. His career yards per attempt is 7.9. So it's not that far from Stroud's 8.2. And he puts all of these together to just make an incredible profile. And his touchdowns per start over his career is 2.41. Like he and Josh Allen in that regard are so much higher than everyone else. Allen is 2.37. The next highest is actually Jalen Hurts at 2.11. And again, this is I'm naturally, with Hurts being so high, I am counting rushing scores because to me, ball gets in the end zone, doesn't matter how. That's what helps your team wins is scoring touchdowns. So I think that's maybe why I've also put Hurts so high, is because I am taking that into account, how much of a difference maker that it makes for the offense. Whereas it seems like maybe your list has been more geared towards how they are passing. Is that fair to say?
I think what separates Mahomes from everyone else is that he makes the right play at the right time. I mean, the Super Bowl on fourth down, he runs like a read option play, gets a first down. I mean, he finds Kelsey, he finds all these guys. I mean, it doesn't matter. Offensive line bad, so what? Wide receiver cool, whatever. Running backs, whatever. Travis Kelsey, old, 79 years old, hanging out with music celebrities. Oh yeah, touchdown pass in Super Bowl. It wasn't the Tyreek Hill, it was to Nico Hardman, right?
McCole Hardman gets one Super Bowl winning touchdown. Sky Moore gets another. Like you talk about like not surrounding the quarterback with receivers, right? Like take away CeeDee Lamb from Dak. I mean, here Mahomes, here's Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore. Have fun. All right, I'll win a Super Bowl with them, I guess. But yeah, I think the right play at the right time is a good way to put it. And he can see plays that other quarterbacks can't see. Right? Like he's not afraid to just, especially of the last couple of years, his evolution is he's not afraid to just take the check down. Where he used to be, he still is really aggressive when the opportunity shows itself. But he also, I think, is better at picking his spots and knowing. I think he's better at like running a clock control offense. That was maybe I remember talking about that like his first couple of years. That was the big weakness. They were just so efficient at scoring that like that year where they scored 50 or he scored 50 plus touchdowns. They were like 24th or 25th in time of possession. Like this was a team that was just scoring so quickly that their defense was actually on the field for a lot more than they should have been. And now it seems like this offense has evolved, and Mahomes is just a complete quarterback now. He can make every throw. His arm, like you talk about arm talent, like he's up there with Stafford and Josh Allen. Like there's not a throw on the field that he can't make at any point from any platform. It's very Aaron Rodgers-esque. But unlike Aaron Rodgers, he's already got multiple Super Bowl wins, whereas as a Packers fan, I know Rodgers never even got back for a second shot. And Mahomes already has 3 wins, 5 or 4 appearances already. So it's everything you want from a quarterback talent standpoint. All the traits, all the stats are there, and then you add into the Tom Brady-esque clutch factor of just when it matters the most, he seems to play even better in the playoffs. So.
And Patrick Mahomes is the same guy. I mean, Kansas City's been down in all 3 Super Bowls, and doesn't matter. He beat down 40-0 with 1 second left on the clock, and you think the Chiefs are going to win that game.
And these are good defenses too. Like the 49ers twice and the Eagles. Like these are top tier defensive units. So it's not like it's you know what it reminds me of? It like Brady doing it in 2012 or 2014, against the Seahawks, where this generational defense, like 4 years in a row, is the top scoring defense in the NFL. Like something like things that are like unheard of. Like we're talking like steel curtain level of just dominance for an extended period. And what does Tom Brady do? 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, does exactly what he needs to. Like maybe the greatest secondary ever assembled, especially that I guess that year Browner was on the Patriots, so maybe it wasn't the best secondary ever. It was the year before when you add Brandon Browner as the second corner, but like to pick apart such an incredible defense is part of the story. So Mahomes has that part of the narrative. Now, the one thing I hope he doesn't do is get the three-peat, because as a Packers fan, I'm proud to say the Packers have the only 2 three-peats in NFL history. So for Mahomes to come in and just like take that away would suck. So I'm really hoping the Chiefs can go far, whatever, but just don't win the Super Bowl, please. That would be insufferable. So.
Hey, the good news is at least the Packers beat the Chiefs last year, unlike a few teams.
That's the thing. It gives confidence that the Packers could win the Super Bowl this year. They showed like they can take the best team and actually beat them. So like that one team, the 49ers, seems to still stick in their mind. They had a chance to beat them this year in the playoffs and they let it slip. Now, I wasn't as devastated. You won't see it coming. Like, they're going to win this game, all right? Everything looks great, man. It's almost too good to be true, and then it happens. Like, of course that happened. Like, you have to expect it. But like, to lose a playoff game when the other team didn't score a touchdown on offense anyway, because they scored one on special teams, that loss really hurt. Like that was a divisional round. The Packers were the 1 seed. The 49ers, so season. They win the game on a blocked punt return touchdown. Like, man, some of the ways they lost this. Oh, Raheem Mostert gets 200 rushing yards. What? What? Second most rush yards ever in a playoff game. So yeah, so this one gave hope that unfortunately is like, okay, is the team gonna look at it? Okay, we almost beat them. We know what we have to do to next year to not lose it. Or is it the demons of the past? Oh, we just can't beat that team. So how this young Packers team reacts to that will be super huge. They do have to play them this year, so at least get a rematch in the regular season, potentially a playoff rematch if they both go so far. But that's go Pack go. that's how I'm going to end that.
I'm not even looking at the schedule, but I know the Niners go to Lambeau and Orchard Park.
I think it's after the bye week. I want to say, actually, I think I have the schedule right here. Week 12. It's that's right before the Packers have back-to-back Thursday night football games, which is a fun wrinkle to the schedule.
Yeah, because you guys played the Dolphins on Thanksgiving, right?
Yep. Staying in Lambeau, which is nice that they have that Thursday game and they don't have to travel. Like they're playing the 49ers at home on the 24th of November, and then 4 days later they stay in Green Bay to play the Dolphins, and then they play. They don't get some teams after the Thursday night game they'll get like a bye and a half or a half week bye almost, because it's almost like a week and a half before your next game. But they actually play 2 Thursday night games in a row because they will play the Lions in Detroit the very next week. So that's just a fun thing about the schedule, is that they have 2 Thursday night games and they just happen to be in back-to-back weeks, which is that's not something you see too often.
Hey, that beats the Ravens, Steelers, Texans, and Chiefs playing Sunday, Saturday, then a Wednesday for Christmas.
That's true. They kind of get screwed with that. Like, it's 3 games in 13 days or something.
That's ridiculous, right?
Yeah, no, the Packers, no real complaints about the Packers schedule. All the things that could have been tricky, because I've seen that in the past where, they're on the road on a Sunday and then have to play a Thursday night game, and like you're traveling and it's like your week is so short at that point. Early season, oh my God, I hate when like my team has, like, I hate when the Packers have like a week 4, week 5 bye. Feels like, I guess there's that one year Adams got hurt super early in the season. So like, okay, we had the bye week during that portion. I think that was like he break his foot or something, or there was something, it wasn't a broken foot, but there was an injury in his foot. He missed a month. And within that month though was a bye week. So I think he only ended up missing, or I think he missed 5 weeks total, but it only ended up being 4 games. So other than that one situation though, I've hated having an early bye. So they get in the middle of the season. I'm always thinking Packers Super Bowl, so put the bye as late as possible so you get like a full balance from September to February, not a balance necessarily from September to December. I always think big. So
yeah, week 10 bye.
Yeah, not too bad. So yeah,
and both our teams play each other because you come to Duval County last week of October.
That's true. October 27th in Jacksonville. Yeah, and I mean, like weird things like the Packers are going to Brazil, so that's something. Friday night football game to kick off the season, so that's.
Do you think it's an advantage or disadvantage for the Packers playing in Sao Paulo?
Relative to the Eagles, I don't think it's going to be much of a difference. I mean, they're starting their seasons there. It'll be hot. but I mean, that'll affect both teams. So which team can stay hydrated better? No, I would think, I guess to a certain extent, if Hurts is going to be that difficult as a runner, it might be tough for the Packers' defensive line rotation to constantly be having to run at him, tackle him. Those guys would just love to just chase him, pass rush, right? But it's the running that can be difficult. And then they got to play the Colts the very next week. So you deal with two quarterbacks that are very physical. So I think that's maybe where, I don't know who the Eagles have in week 2, but I think it's almost the after result of that game that might determine where's the advantage or disadvantage. Because that's the one thing. If Kenny Clark's super tired already through 2 weeks and they're having to rotate him out a lot, like the Colts could really exploit that with Richardson. So having to face Hurts and Richardson back-to-back weeks, that's maybe the one thing about the schedule that's less than advantageous, and that might be where the Packers get a bit of a disadvantage just of how it's structured. I guess the good news is that you have, I think it's 9 days between games, so maybe that's enough for the team to rest up. No, like it's a long flight, but there's no time zone change. So like body clock wise, that shouldn't really be in effect. So I'd like to think it's not really a disadvantage. It's a huge opportunity for the Packers, and you're playing a good team with the Eagles. So if they lose to them, you can't say, oh, they lost them because they're in Brazil. It's like, no, they lost them because they're a good team. Like that's what happens when you play good teams. So I can see the Packers maybe getting a loss there, but then man, they play a lot of those. Like you said, the Jags. They play, like AFC South season with the Titans looking like they are. Potentially no DeAndre Hopkins in that early season game. I kind of like the Packers' chances. This went from a QB episode to a Packers episode, but that's what you get with me from the Full Press Packers pod, Dylan. Sorry.
Okay, Kyle, thanks for tuning in. You can check out Kyle Going for Two, Full Press Packers, and maybe there'll be a few cheeseheads in the Big Easy come second week of February, right?
Yeah. Well, it's funny because they might be before then because they do play the Saints. Oh, yeah, I guess they play the Saints in Green Bay though. So, but yeah, it'd be nice to see Green Bay and Jordan Love get to the Super Bowl so early in his career. That'd be awesome. Put all that weight of that pressure, that contract away, and say, oh, he's already paid it off right away in year one. Because that's been a big storyline. The $55 million quarterbacks, Dylan. Both our teams have $55 million a year quarterbacks. So let's see what they can do with them.